Hello, this is Terry from Everything Homestead. Today we're incubating eggs. We have our own chickens here, and we have a Bielefelder variety of chicken. It's a nice sized chicken, lays good eggs. We have about 30 eggs here today that I'm going to put in the incubator. The Bielefelder, I think, is a really nice chicken because aside from giving us eggs nearly one a day, they're a big chicken, have a lot of meat on them. I have this incubator set up in my house here, and I'm gonna show you the process of what it takes to get our chickens to hatch. Should take about 3 weeks, and I'll bring you along for the experience. So this is my incubator here. We bought this a couple years ago. We've had some rough luck first going with it because we had some problems with the temperature control and humidity control on this unit, but I think we've ironed out the details. It should be okay. The brand name of this, I can't remember the brand name exactly. Here's the literature that came with it. So there's the number if you need to look one of these up for yourself. This particular one holds 42 eggs. What I did as far as controlling the temperature, I bought a digital little unit that I put right inside there. It tells me the temperature and the humidity. Typically I like to see the temperature at 37.5. It's really getting close. I've had this thing running for a little over a day now just to get everything stabilized for temperature and humidity. The humidity I'd like to see closer to 55%, and that's just a matter of how much water you put into the unit. Higher the humidity you want, you have to put more water in. So as the next day or two go by, this humidity should be dropping down a little bit as the water evaporates inside the unit. On the front here, it gives you the readouts of the temperature, humidity, how many days are left until the hatch of 21 days, and you get down to the last couple of days. You want to try to bump up the humidity a little bit to help soften the eggshell so the little chicks can break free. So over here, I've had these eggs are sitting here for about a day. I took them out of the coop, brought them in, and you want to set them down with the point side of the egg down. That helps settle out the air sac inside of the egg, so it's better chances of having a good hatch. So let me just kind of open this up a little bit here. Take this cover off. This yellow section here is the cradle for the eggs. So when you set them in here, it's kind of a big egg, but you set them in here and it automatically rotates the eggs for me. If you didn't have this automatic mechanism to move the eggs back and forth, you'd have to do that by hand every day. You'd have to come in and turn the eggs a little bit. But this does it for me, so it's one less hassle that I have to worry about. So I just place these. It doesn't really matter what part of the incubator it goes in, but just randomly put these in here, and I'll bring you back when I get this done. Okay, as you can see, I have all the eggs in that I plan on hatching. There is a component on this machine that has a flashlight candling type option for these eggs. When you go to candle these eggs to see if they're fertile or not, air sac position, stuff like that, you put a little candling light up to the egg and you can actually see inside the egg. Makes it a little bit translucent so you can see what's going on inside there. Well, this machine has little LED, I don't know if you can see them down in there, little LED lights, little diodes that light up. I'll turn the light on and you can see how bright they are. There. So under each egg has one of those lights, so you don't even have to pick the egg up out of the machine. You can look right through. Really tough to see on the camera right now, but you can see what's going on in the egg without even opening up the machine or picking up the egg or anything. So I'm gonna let these things sit in here for 21 days. I'm going to monitor the humidity. I just had it open so the temperature dropped, humidity dropped, but keep a close eye on the temperature. The nice thing about this little digital unit here for keeping track of the temperature is that it's hooked up to the Bluetooth to my phone, and I can set the parameters for any alarm settings. So if I'm not around, it'll make an alarm just like that. It's saying the humidity is too low and temperature is too low, so it's alarming already. So some of the things that I do for selecting what eggs to put in here. First off, I like to find the eggs that are clean right out of the coop. I don't want to wash them because that'll decrease the chances of having a good hatch. So I keep the coop clean, number one, that helps a lot, but just take the ones that I don't have to wash. That way, if they're clean going into this thing, it's less chance of bacteria growing during this process. The bacteria is not good for trying to get the chicks to survive. So after about 18 days, I'll probably check back in here with you and we'll show you where we're at. So I thought I'd just show you the Bielefelder chickens that I have to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. They're a pretty impressive bird as far as chickens are concerned. I mean, look at the size of some of these. The size of that rooster. Maybe it's hard to tell on the camera, but very nice sized birds. The part I like about these birds, they're relatively new to this country. They are heat tolerant, they are cold tolerant, which is kind of a big deal where I live because it can get to be over 100 degrees in the summertime, and it can get, 50, 60 below zero in the wintertime. Some birds don't tolerate that kind of temperature, and they're hard to keep them alive. I mean, unless you want to bring them into your house and cuddle up with them in the wintertime, but that's not me. So these birds also lay almost an egg a day per hen, which is, I like to eat the eggs. They're really good tasting eggs. If you haven't had farm fresh eggs before compared to the store-bought, you're just missing out. There is a pretty significant difference in flavor, fresh eggs versus store-bought. They are pretty noisy, I guess. I live out in the country, so this is probably not something you could get away with in the city just because of the noise alone. The butcher weight on these things are pretty impressive compared to other birds. They're a non-hybrid chicken, but you can still get the hens probably when they're butchered and in your freezer are still probably 5-6 pounds, and the roosters could be 8-9 pounds. So that's the dual purpose part of these birds that I like. I use these birds for about 2 years of egg laying, and then after that they're still good size for butchering. So the situation I'm doing now is these are not quite a year old right now, so they've got some time to go yet before butchering time for these. So in the meantime, I took their eggs, and that's what I'm incubating. I'm going to take those eggs, incubate them, and those are just going to be raised for meat only. The meat only birds, it only takes a few months to get them up to the butchering size. To get them to the egg laying portion of their life, you got to wait 3-4 months at the minimum before they start laying. So it's a circle of life here. I just use these eggs, grow meat chickens, got a freezer full of meat, and then I got a whole bunch of eggs coming in at the same time. Now I have a ratio of, I believe, 14 hens and 2 roosters, so I want to make sure that the eggs are fertilized. I just didn't think that one rooster could guarantee me all the eggs getting fertilized for when the time comes to incubate. They seem to be getting along okay. Some people worry about the roosters fighting, but these chickens are pretty well behaved. These chickens are also very nice to handle, to get around with. They don't peck at you. They are some of the nicer chickens out there. Newer to this country, and I'm really impressed with them. you about it. So I'll be doing a couple videos on this coop I built coming up soon. Take you inside and take a look at the setup I have. This is the building that the chicks will be living in once they get hatched. I got a nice spot in there set up for them. I'll show you that in some future videos. Well, we're back. It's day 20, and the little baby chicks will be starting to hatch from today and until tomorrow, maybe the next day even. And I see one is just starting to peek out. I'll give you a look. Well, the first little guy just popped out. It's day 20. Just came out of the egg. A little camera shy, it looks like. There's his former home. Where are you? Just gonna let him sit in there for a while. The air that's circulating inside of there will help keep it warm and kind of dry it off at the same time. Hopefully more to come soon. Well, we're back from the incubation process. The chicks have hatched, and I'll show you them in just a minute. The whole process I was a little upset about because it was pretty much a disaster, the way it all turned out, and I was kind of disappointed in myself with all this, and I'll explain why. So there are some things that are in my control and some things that are not in my control. After the fact, I had a very poor hatch. I had 5 hatch out of 30, and that's disappointing when you put 3 weeks of your time into this and monitoring the machine the whole time, and plus you have the expectation of having chickens when it's all said and done. It's a big disappointment. I've done this before and had some rough luck before too, so I always try to make improvements on what I'm doing. And this time I made sure I did a little after the fact investigating. I looked at the eggs that did not hatch, and unfortunately all but 2 were pretty much completely formed in the egg. They just didn't hatch. There are a number of factors that can cause that. I don't know, it's just so disappointing to see how close we were to getting the chicks that we were looking for, that I took the machine apart after it was all said and done to clean it out, and I actually had to take half a dozen screws out to disassemble the machine to get it as clean as I wanted to. And I discovered it was a lot more dirty underneath that panel that I removed, and it probably had some bacteria in there that could have possibly caused problems. So it wasn't as clean as I would like, and I'm kind of picky about the cleanliness of this kind of stuff, and so that may have been my fault that caused the problems, possibly. I monitored the humidity and the temperature multiple times every day. The humidity was tough to keep controlled exactly like I wanted to. I kept it in the parameters that they had recommended. I know the humidity is a really important factor of how successful you are in getting them to hatch. So overall, I think I did a pretty good job with that, but in the process of disassembling the machine, underneath this panel that I took out, there's this coil of wires or insulated wires that look like they were probably the heat source for the incubator, and probably a third to half of the coating on those wires had just worn off and fallen off, like it was just crumbling. And there was a couple of spots where you could see where the wire had fallen off the bracket and was actually melting the plastic on the bottom of the incubator. It actually put a little pinhole. It melted down so far, so it started to raise the questions of, is this going to be a fire hazard just from incubating eggs? And so that wasn't a good thing. A little bit of investigating online. I waited 21 days for the hatch, and I actually waited a couple more days to see if they would hatch a little late. And so I went out to 23 days. I did a little research online, and it said that you might want to try to go to 25 days for the hatch. And if that is really what would have fixed my problems, I accidentally killed all sorts of little chicks accidentally. I just feel horrible if that's really the case. Aside from that, though, I mean, those are the things that are in my control. The machine itself I had problems with the temperature and humidity from day one. I thought, this is just all my problem. I was doing something wrong. And so I ended up, as you saw earlier, I put my own thermometer inside the machine, and I verified that what the machine was reading out on the display wasn't accurate. So the first time I had a disaster of a hatch a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I was chalking it up to the parameters are so far off on humidity and temperature that's probably why they didn't hatch. So I put in my digital gadget inside the machine that I showed you earlier, and probably a couple days into it, I realized that can't be right either, and I put a third one in the machine to verify one that actually it wasn't battery operated and wasn't hooked up to the machine. It's the old-fashioned temperature humidity reader, and that one I actually matched it up to other things in the house as far as making sure it was accurate. That one I trusted, and it showed that the machine and that little digital gadget none of them were right. So I had problems. The machine itself was supposed to be able to regulate this and give me accurate readings, and I couldn't trust that. Couldn't trust the digital gadget I put in there. So I think I had that squared away too. So now that I had just a little bit of a disaster happen, came away, I did get some chicks here. I'll show you in a minute. I'm happy I did get the 5 chicks. I got something out of it anyway. But moving forward, the wires on there that I discovered were so worn out looking. I reassembled everything. I cleaned it all out and stuff and made sure there was no gunk in there anywhere. I tried throwing some more eggs in there to start a new incubating process. I only put 6 eggs in because I didn't want to have such a big disappointment if it didn't work out again. This time go around, the machine, it isn't able to bring the heat up at all. I can adjust the heat up, and it isn't getting heat up to temperature, and I'm guessing it's that heating coil is a problem. And the humidity reader on the machine completely says 0, and so that completely went out. I checked all the wiring other than that coil thing I was describing. The rest of the wiring seems to be intact. The connectors are connected. The little temperature probe is okay, unobstructed, and seems fine. So I've spent, in my previous job, I used to spend hours and hours looking up stuff for inventory. So I'm pretty good at researching things for products online. I can usually find phone numbers, contacts, and stuff like that. And so the first thing I did is I went to the user manual, like the one I showed you earlier. I looked at this. I'm like, well, what's the company name? I want to see what the company says about their products. Well, there's nothing on here other than I had to dig for a while online to figure out I was the 42S model. Nothing is printed on the machine. There's no brand name, no model name, no nothing on the machine to go by. So I was going by, this is all I have. There's nothing in the box. I still have the original box. This is it. And so I'll just, open up the front page. I'll find the customer service number, the website, the something, anything. And there's absolutely nothing in here. Nothing. No phone number, no website, no company name, nothing. So I had to go online, and after searching for a while, I did find the company that makes these is out of China. Surprise. I didn't know that when I bought that. I guess I should have paid attention. And the company's name is HDD. And I guess they sell different models, quite a few of them, I guess. But it's just a horrible customer service thing. And I found the website. I found the customer service section. But you shouldn't have to go and search and search and search and search just to find the company name, much less the customer service number. Very disappointed in that. Not going to be using their product again. This incubator is going in the dumpster. Even, I'm not going to call the customer service. I'm not going to do anything about it. It was an expensive machine, but it's not so much about the expense of the machine as the loss of the chickens I got out of the deal. That's far more devastating than the cost of the machine. So I'm too upset. They're not. I don't want them to replace it. I don't want them to give them my money back. It's too late now. That ship has sailed. So my wife and I talked about it, and she went ahead and bought another incubator that supposedly has really good reviews, and can't wait for it to arrive in a couple days, and we'll try it out, and I'll let you know how that goes. But enough of that. Let's show you the chicks. So here we are. I have this set up in my basement right now, and once they get to be a week or two old, I'll transfer them out to the chicken coop outside. But for now, I've got this heat lamp suspended. I adjust the height of it. I just prop something underneath there on these two table stands to lift it up higher. Right now, I don't want to go any lower. I'll have roasted chickens. So right now, it's at a pretty good spot. Usually, you can tell how high to put the heat lamp by. If it's too hot, they're going to be sitting over here in the corner. If it's too cold, they're going to be sitting underneath there huddled up together. So you just kind of find that happy medium on where to put them. Now with these Bielefelder chicks, I'm probably saying it wrong, don't care. But they're pretty cool because they're auto-sexting birds, which means when they're born, you can tell if it's a male or female right off the bat. So if you look, you see that there's two of them that have, I call racing stripes. They got the chipmunk stripes down their back, side of their face. Those are the females. The males don't have that. The males have a white spot on top of their head. That'd be an easy way to sort them out if you're gonna sell them or give them to someone or decide what to do with them. But either way, they're kind of cute. Full life. Getting these little buggers is never a dull moment. The kids and grandkids come over and they love just sitting there looking at them. They'll pat them and hold them. It's a pretty neat experience overall, just having the chicks hatch the way they did, even though we didn't end up with 30 of them. Still pretty neat stuff.